We've actually built a lot of our workflows around the iodyne Pro Data to enhance the amount of extra technicalities that it requires on a music festival or live event.
It's a lot of ingest, it's a lot of data coming at you from a lot of different places.
You can see how fast this becomes very complex.
If you can't keep up the problem, it can very rapidly get out of hand.
Dane Brehm from Cintegral breaks down how modern DIT teams have evolved into data quarterbacks, orchestrating massive workflows in real time at multi-stage music festivals. This is a look at the technology, teamwork, and workflow design that keeps the show moving. So let's get cooking.
Hi everybody, I'm Martin from iodyne. Welcome to another episode of Workflow Kitchen. We've got one of our very good iodyne friends on the show today. This is Dane Brehm from Cintegral, and we're going to be talking about some really cool stuff today. We're going to be talking about mega ingest, talking about live events, talking about sort of all of this data coming from a lot of different sources, a lot of different formats. It's going to be really cool, and we're going to break that down. We're going to break down the workflow with Dane. Tell us a little bit about Cintegral, Dane.
So Cintegral is a production, storage, and workflow solutions company. We work a lot with producers, music producers who are working on live events and need to, have a festival or maybe a fashion show or some kind of multi-camera type of scenario. Maybe it's the Hollywood Bowl. Any of these kind of live events with editors as well as the initial camera feeds that are coming off.
So let's talk about music festivals, right? Because we were chatting about this earlier. It's very it's a lot of ingest, it's a lot of data coming at you from a lot of different places. Kind of like take me through that process, because I've only done a couple of festivals. It's it seems very different every single time as well.
Yes. So we do about a dozen festivals a year.
Oh wow!
Each one of them is in a different location across the U.S., Mexico, even some in Canada occasionally, which are all different environments, different requirements across the board. The first thing that we really like to start with is, what's our consumption level look like?
The consumption level, how do you...
The consumption of the cameras, right? What's the kind of breakout? Is it a one-day event? Is it a 3-day event? Is it a live event for 2 hours and then you cut and it's done? You have also your digital imaging technicians, your data wranglers, and even our post-production and visual effects artists.
Are we talking kind of DSLRs, mirrorless cameras?
Exactly.
Kind of.
I mean, you have GoPros, you have FX3s, FX9s, 6s. You have Red Komodos, Raptors, Epics.
So we're talking SD cards, micro SD cards. What's it? A CF Express Type B,
exactly.
Type A as well. If there's Sonys in there, XQVs or maybe a few S/S's.
A lot of this data, especially in a live event environment, is recorded to a rack full of SSDs. Now, that can be a bottleneck at times, is when you have to offload all of that data, let's just say at every hour on the hour, or, because there's every music festival all has a different requirements and different deliverables. One of the things that when a client comes to us or a producer and they want to know what is going to be the most efficient way to get their footage into their DIT to then disseminate that to several editors. Maybe it might even be like a graphics artist. Each one of those editors may be doing something off of what's known as the line cut, which is the primary broadcast that comes through.
Okay.
And
that's what's coming live off of the desk.
So maybe that's hitting first, right? In most cases, a line cut is the actual broadcast. It's the program that maybe is in one case being used to go out to a live stream. Or it also could be in parallel something with the because it's it's the host, it's the branding, it's all of that in a single broadcast, shall we say? And then hand it off to the editors of, let's start chopping this up, maybe down to 15 seconds, down to 30, down to little buttons that they can run. In between every hour on the hour.
How quick is that turnaround?
It can be even faster than that, but
so
in most cases...
the editors are literally just like almost doing this slightly live just after the fact,
extremely, as fast as possible. And the reason why is to give them more time for creativity. We've actually built a lot of our workflows around the iodyne Pro Data to enhance and to minimize the amount of extra technicalities that it requires to just spin up something really quickly on a music festival or live event or anything of that nature. When you're, you got your Pro Data You've plugged everybody in via their Thunderbolt.
Right.
Your DIT is kind of your ingest person. They're also, making our backups.
Right.
3-2-1, data policy, three
still-
copies in 2 places, 1 offsite. It'll go offsite later.
But then you've also got these kind of drip feeds of ingest that are coming
Exactly.
in from the EPKs or the ENG
Yeah.
stuff, and also BTS. So that's dripping in as well. You've also got the main feed that's coming down, and that's kind of being almost like the guide, the line edit, like you said. So, and then you've got editor 1, editor 2, editor 3, and then they've all essentially got all their different functions, which is guided by their output. And this is all going to happen simultaneously, whilst at the same time somebody's coming in every now and then with a drone card and saying, let's drop it off.
Because you
It sounds a smidge intense, Dane. I'm not
It
gonna
can
lie.
be. It can be, but you got to think of like who's priority, right? The first editor is priority,
Right, okay,
Because
so
they
number
need
one.
it as fast as possible. They have a very, very fixed amount of time.
That's the hour turnaround we were talking about.
that
Okay.
hour or sub-hour turnaround.
Okay. Wow.
And then you have the second and a third
Yeah.
who's coming in, and they may be cutting different things, right?
Okay.
They may be just working on a client deliverable, such as a talent, right? They might have a particular band or a particular group or talent that they're cutting for.
So let's actually then kind of dig down into the pro data side of it, because obviously you've worked with the pro data a lot. You've actually been one of our greatest advocates, because the feedback you've been able to give us through kind of production situations like this has really kind of helped guide us to really understanding this. I don't even know what to call it. What is it? Hyper workflows, kind of just very intense
It's
live
workflow.
workflows.
It's got to work.
It's got to work,
flow.
right? So let's talk about kind of the container layout of stuff like this, because traditionally, when I'm working sort of with somebody designing a workflow, the first thing I want to know is, again, we talk about is scheduled ingest versus a drip feed, right? The complexity of what you're doing is it sounds like you've got both going on there.
Yep, simultaneously.
So, therefore, something like the handoff feature with the containers, in my mind, tell me if I'm wrong here, I would kind of think using containers almost like kind of virtual mags type thing.
Yeah.
So, you've got all these little mags, but they, try and kind of batch them in as much as you can, either by area or group or band or anything like said. Try and kind of batch them together and then use them as these kind of virtual mags that you can now move amongst the editors. Does handoff kind of become a little bit more vital, or are we pulling everything in and kind of going into a multi-reader mode type thing?
So how I explain to a lot of the live event crew members who are working with the pro data is previous to this, they had 12, 15 drives,
right?
And they were sharing the drives physically between each other,
unplugging,
hand it over,
plug
here,
it
you
in,
take this, you pull it off, and that's why the pro data is such a critical component to these new types of workflows where you can be more efficient. But what happens is once you tell a producer that you can be more efficient, they now double the amount of cameras,
so now
or increase the amount of input that you
have.
have.
Like, oh, well, you're so great at this.
Yeah, exactly.
A
lot of that is the ingest, and it's there. And I'm just setting this up so that our audience understands that it can be intense, and there is that conversation. But you're in this. They know it's crazy already. It's nuts, and they're just going to deal with it in the best way they can at the time.
But the kind of container layer. Because just by the fact that of the way this is happening, it can't be, let's go 100% on a container RAID 6, call it that. It's got to be, you've got to be able to cut this up into various containers per project and stuff like that. So are you just using all 15 containers there? And
what I've learned from you is I tend to try to match the data to that container.
Right.
So if a card comes in and it's a 64 gigabyte card and they've shot 32 on there, I'll make a container with a little bit more, right?
Yeah,
maybe
you give that 20%.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, and also there's this, great RAID 0, RAID 6 decision that you're making, right, at that point in terms of your data integrity.
Yeah.
So what I do is I have them just, as each card comes in, give it its own space, give it its own time to do that and deliver it. Yeah. And then as it moves on to the next one, you're handing it off to those editors.
So, okay, so this kind of gets in a little bit to something that we've been going on about recently, which is the DIT role and how it's evolving. Because it used to be very much, we talk about the sort of the storage or the bucket of data, it was always very much at the end of what was happening.
Yes.
Now, because DIT has changed slightly, you're now more of a kind of like a data kind of orchestrator type thing.
I call it data quarterback.
Data quarterback. Yeah, you're bringing that storage into the middle of what's going on. But that being said, historically when I've done this job as a DIT, honestly, like we didn't have things like Pro Data that could actually really do that before.
Correct.
It was always a bucket at the end. There's very little smarts to it. That's where the storage went. But kind of being able to have this feature set and bring that to the middle, that seems like just in the nature of this existing, it's changed that role a lot. Like you said,
Absolutely.
DIT turns into a data quarterback a lot more. So you've got to really understand how to orchestrate this.
And who is your priority? Because you got to prioritize who gets it first. Because at the end of the day, all the footage needs to come off.
Yeah, it's got to go.
Here's just a little side thing is a lot of times the owner operators are bringing their own camera, and they have a limited amount of cards, limited amount of media.
They've got 2 on them.
Exactly. They may have only 2.
Yeah.
Some better than that. They have 3. And then you have others who are just like, here's a gang of cards, right? Or my preference when I'm on shows is I want to know what cameras those are, and I want to control all of those cards, either as a function of my job, and I control that media, and I'm giving them media, and then I know when it comes back, I can scan it in, I can see what's going on, I can create a document.
Like you said, data quarterback, but you are just keeping the clipboard and just kind of
I may have 2 people on my team as well.
Just on the front,
splitting,
aside from the editors.
Aside from the editors,
right?
So there's another thing here is when you go to a music festival, for example, you have multiple stages, right? Yes, so I may be on the main stage and the outdoor stage, and then my other data manager is on the the indoor stage or the the super stage, whatever it may be.
So everything that we've been talking about is now happening in separate.
Twice. So now that you can see how fast this becomes very complex.
If you can't keep up, the problem just it's an exponential issue at that point. It can very rapidly get out of hand. You got to have speed. You got to be able to organize, and you've got to be. And again, to that point, you've got to be able to trust that when it's there, and when the job is done, it's done.
Yeah.
We're also going to get into this thing because, for so long, peak performance, right? Because you're planning in these days. You're planning, going, this is when this has got to hit. This is when this has got to hit. Turn around, right? We talk so much about peak performance. Something is up to, stuff like that. Rarely is it actually sustaining at that rate. We talk about speed. We talk about sustaining it. The reason why it's so important to us is exactly because of that. We want to know if we say it's going to be 30 minutes, it needs to be 30 minutes. It needs to not come back and go, it's 20 more minutes.
Yes.
So we can't have that. And I feel like in this, that is even more important than any other genre.
Yeah, so a lot of the times we're using, multiple Pro Datas. So we may have a stack of 3 24 terabyte Pro Datas. One, so I can get more people connected. Yeah. Or if it is a extreme performance, maybe you're not doing this every hour on the hour. Maybe you're pulling it forward. Maybe it's 45 minutes or even a half hour. Which
is now you're tightening up those deadlines. Which actually leads me to it's a question we ask everybody, Dane, and actually probably you. This is more poignant than anyone. How do you sleep? When do you sleep? Do you ever get to sleep?
When I'm on a show, I can get sleep, but I'm usually working somewhere around 12 p.m. to about 2:33 a.m. is a very normal work day.
Anything that makes sure that you can finish on time.
Exactly. Every minute counts. Yeah. And every efficiency that you can make, because what you want to do is the second you're done, I want to be done in a half hour.
Yeah.
So
close up.
Everyone's cut. Yeah. Done. Cards. Here you go. Half hour. I want to be done. Yeah. And I want to look as best as possible to the producer. Yeah. So they keep hiring me back. Yeah. You want that efficiency. Year after year. Yeah. Because that's the thing about these music festivals is they can go for 20 years. Yeah. So you want to have that continuous,
Yeah.
each year to let
So
them know they're
the
working.
better you design this, the more efficient you are. Essentially, that's just going to keep bringing you back to your customers. They're going to go, that again, if we can predict that he can do it, do it in this way, and he delivers on his promise every time, they're not going to go anywhere else. Yeah.
And in
brilliant.
addition to sleep, it's also your body, right? Your feet,
Yeah.
your back, all those things.
Yeah, we're not getting any younger, are we?
We're not.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of
Thank you
Workflow
so much.
Kitchen. Dane, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Martin. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's good
no
to kind of
sweat.
sit here and chop it up.
This is Iodine Workflow Kitchen, where media professionals and technologists break down real-world workflows and explore smarter, faster ways to create. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe to catch the next episode.